Hi, I'm Marina Sirtis, and you're going boldly with Beyond Trek podcast.
This is Beyond Trek Podcast, your source for Star Trek on social media and around the web. I'm Big J.
I'm Watney.
And I'm Dag, the Trivia Master. You can find us on Facebook at Beyond Trek Podcast and on Twitter at Beyond Trek Pod.
Red alert.
Now that we're recording, I want to hear your deep, dark secrets, Watney. You got all dolled up for this. You said you were even drying your hair.
Oh my God.
So-
I dry my hair every day for work. It's not getting dolled up.
You took a shower? Okay, well.
Yeah. It's called hygiene.
I kid. What, Dad?
I even have my butt deodorant.
I almost had that out of my mind. I almost did, and then you just...
No, I'll never let you forget that. You guys started that shit.
You refreshed the whole butt deodorant
you're
thing.
stuck with it. You're stuck with it.
Oh, so. God. All right. So now that I'm completely distracted, we're talking about Rios today, right? And I've got my mask. I know it's, just a thing. Hope everyone's doing okay out there in the quarantine. I'm Big J. I'm here with Watney and Dag. Hopefully you know our voices by now.
Yeah. Welcome.
Dag, is that a Marvel mask?
It's a Marvel mask. It's Thor and Hulk.
Thor and Hulk. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks great. I like the over the ear ones because I feel like they're more comfortable. But at this point, like any mask would do, I'm sure. So.
Yeah. Oh, no, people are out in bars and restaurants and stuff like nothing ever happened. I've seen some pictures and it just
my God,
packed in shoulder to shoulder. Like, okay, I guess this is where we're at, right?
Yeah, we just all collectively decided we're fucking done with quarantine. So, which I get it. Like, if you want to get out, it's nice out and everything, but go to a park or something. Like, keep socially distancing and keeping careful. But like, my grocery store was still counting people coming in and out. So there's that. Like, but I did go to the store yesterday. I had a mask.
Good, being responsible. Lots
of hygiene. Yeah, and it's like important to protect other people. Like if you're, even if you're in a low risk group, a low risk demographic, I think it's still important and respectful to protect people who are in maybe a higher risk group. Like I'm not even seeing my own family at all, which really sucks. But I'm back at work. I'm back in the office. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. And so now I really can't go visit my family.
Right.
It just makes it harder because I'm going in again and I come home and there's like, I can't go do anything. So I just have to make do. But anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about Zorro in space.
Zorro in space. I like that. That's
actually Elnor is kind of more Zorro-y, but he doesn't have the attitude,
right? Yeah,
that Rios does. So,
Dag, you want to start us off?
We just want to give a big thanks to Santiago Cabrera for his performance as Cristóbal Rios, aka the uncle who'd let you sip his beer, as well as his 5 eccentric brothers. Today we're going to be talking about Rios and all of the 5 holograms aboard La Serena. Speaking of La Serena, here's a beauty shot. La Serena.
Oh, that's a nice shot.
Just a little.
Wow, God, I do love that ship. It looks nice.
Gonna toss a high five out to the people at Star Trek Gifts for dropping so many cool Picard-worthy gifts on us that can be used in this presentation.
Oh yeah, so yes, yeah. If for any of our listeners or viewers, you want to catch some cool gifts, not only from Picard but from all the Star Trek series of movies, you can visit Star Trek Gifts on Reddit. There's tons there, a lot of creativity there, a lot of fun, and that's where Dag gets a lot of his material. And today we're going to talk about Rios. Now, my first impression of Rios was I didn't know what to think of him, honestly. I mean, he seemed like your Mal Reynolds, your Han Solo, just any regular brigand.
I think he's kind of a romantic at heart, like
Mm-hmm.
the books he reads, and obviously how he talks to like Girardi, and he named his ship La Sirena, which means the mermaid.
Oh, is that what that means? I did not.
Yeah, that's the
Thank you.
translation for it.
Okay.
So I think he's kind of like, he's a little romantic at heart, even though he's like really he has his walls up, as we find out why. But at first glance, he's very much the gruff. He's just so cute. Look at him. He's so cute.
Well, look at that. I mean, what happened here? He's got this shard in his shoulder. Now I know what happened. What happened was his ship took a light phaser blast somewhere to the aft port quadrant, and a console on the bridge exploded in sparks and rocks and debris, and he must have taken one to the shoulder. Is that pretty safe to say is what happened?
I think that's probably what happened. He for some reason he refuses medical attention in this scene. Just to be a whatever. Who are you trying to impress, bro? Picard, probably. You would know Picard isn't impressed by that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Well, he does talk about the books that he reads. One of them is like the existentialism of knowledge of death, and he talks about that as a thing that's just like living as a being that is sentient and aware that it will eventually die, and draws his meaning from that. So he ends up kind of being like the nihilist character who's like nothing means anything because we're all going to die anyway. So that to me sort of contributes to why he just doesn't care that there's a 24th century ninja star sticking out of his shoulder there.
Yeah, I mean, to him, feeling that pain is probably part of existence, and so
makes him feel alive.
He embraces it. It makes him feel alive. He reads a book called The Tragic Sense of Life, which is one of the like, it's important as a civilization for us as humans that this book was like written, because it's about it's culturally important. And it's very, they put a lot of like conceptual stuff in a lot of paper books in Picard, which we do see paper books in the rest of Trek. It's not something that is like out of style, but the book that he has in that screenshot, did you have one with him in a book? I just remember seeing the book that he was reading on the bridge, and it looked like he pulled it out of a library. It had like the plastic cover on it still, like the protective plastic cover. I was surprised it didn't have like a barcode on the back of it. It's like,
this is a book from pre-World War III. It's been overdue for 300 years.
Oh my God. Think of the fees.
Yeah. And you know what I noticed here that I don't know how I missed before, and I'm surprised that I have not heard any outrage from Trek fans online about. I just noticed his tattoo on his left arm, which you don't really see much in Star Trek at all, besides Chakotay, I think. And
well, besides a fucking face tattoo.
right. Yeah. And I one and then the Romulans in the Star Trek reboot, but because that's the alternate timeline, that is hashtag not my track, right? I'm being sarcastic.
Well, and Nero's from our timeline. We know that.
Right. Well, yeah, I know. I just, I'm being sarcastic there, but yeah, Rios has a big old tattoo on his arm. So, again,
it's only acceptable to have markings on yourself when they're in the form of trail spots.
Oh yes, and then there's
I can't roll my eyes enough.
Well, and that's because Watney, you know why? That's because those spots go down all the way, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't Google that, kids.
Yes, please don't.
Or do. We
are not responsible for your children. Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
You'll find what you're looking for. We'll just say that.
Just wanted to toss that out. If you
so what? Yeah.
We're gonna ruin it for you. No,
we are
just spoilers to death.
I think we stopped doing spoiler alerts. We probably should put those back in.
We've forgotten about spoiler alerts. So Dag, will you give the spoiler alert, please?
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler
The official one.
Yeah, the official.
This is our spoiler alert. If you are listening to this episode or watching it, go ahead and you just accept the fact that we're going to spoil this for you. And since you're already so many minutes into this cast, you're locked in.
Yep. Thank you.
There is no passing go, no collecting $200.
Yeah. And also to piggyback off that, which what I just said is one of my like least favorite phrases ever to piggyback off that. It's very corp talk, I guess. But
let's circle back to
I just want to level set here. Yeah.
Watney, do you
like,
want to talk about that offline? Let's talk about that offline. Your grievances there. Yeah. Let's have a different meeting. Let's have a meeting.
No. This isn't a grievance. No. I'm just saying that when we have these conversations on our episodes, we like to say like, oh, would you look at that? Well, we're talking, if you're listening to us on Spotify or anchor.fm, anywhere that's audio only, we actually have a YouTube channel. I mentioned this many times before, but we have these discussions. We film ourselves doing it, and we also have like screen grabs and GIFs from the episodes up as well that we like to reference. So if you're into that kind of visualization, check us out on YouTube.
I thought we were doing corporate speak. So I was telling you about let's talk offline. I hate that.
Yeah.
When you're talking about
Now that
something
we've
important
all-
and someone just jumps in and is like, okay, yeah, why don't you guys talk about that offline? Like, no, jerk. This is what we're talking about right now.
I'll follow up offline.
Guys, now that I feel that we have aligned on the business direction for this episode,
Okay.
I'd like to continue speaking to the subject of the discussion, if you will. So let's circle back to Rios. When we first see Rios, he's injured as heck, and he's turning down help from his EMH to give us that. All right, this guy's edgy. Not as edgy as Mal. Like Mal be held down while Zoe's like, "This is gonna burn."
Firefly reference.
You know, we do get the impression that this is a guy who immediately, we know that he lives his life on the edge of Federation civilization. He's another one of the outcasts. And I think I kind of like the fact that this is Star Trek in the gritty depths. This isn't to use another metaphor, this isn't the shining spires of Coruscant's top level. This is, 17 levels down where all the people who can't make it on the top go.
Yes.
And, and this is Rios's comfort zone. He doesn't have to deal with the BS that we learned that he had to deal with in the past. And also, sort of in this episode, he kind of comes to terms with that in a way, as you'll see going through this discussion. But yes, for those listening, we've got a GIF of Rios kicking back in his chair with a cigar, a bottle of liquor, and that book. Watney, what was it called again?
For what?
The book that Rios is.
The Tragic Sense of Life.
Right.
Or quote, Tragic Sense of Life.
Right.
Miguel de Unamuno. And
it's so many good Easter eggs just Googling the books that he mentions or are featured in his room.
Is that the one that he talks to Jurati about, or she comes in and she's just like, fucking space, am I right?
It is. Like, that is the book.
That's the one. Okay, that's what I thought. And she's an Asimov fan herself, so yeah, I don't know. It's all very like, oh, you read this book? I've read it too, so I know where your mindset is. It's very much like that kind of thing. These are all intellectuals, despite the fact that they're in the how many levels down, But and I would say that, like, if you look at the ship that he owns and operates himself, plus a few extra people we will talk about later, but he's doing all right. Like, the ship is super high tech. It's got holographic displays. It's not run down. It has great paint on it. It's not Serenity.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I was about to say
it's
Millennium Falcon.
It's plain Millennium Falcon, like when it was
new,
brand baby new.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But La Serena is very like it's reminds me of Mass Effect. It reminds me of the Normandy, and I know that like that's something I say a lot. But if you've ever played Mass Effect, you know the Normandy is like the top of the line ship,
Mm.
and it has like a special AI called ED, and it's like just the top of the line stealth ship
Mhm.
kind of. So, and it's about the same size, I would think. So I really like the ship. I think, he's obviously worked really hard to be able to have that. And it's interesting when you think about, oh, we're in a post scarcity society with
Mhm.
no money. Well, then how did he acquire the ship? It's like I have questions like that when I think about the show Picard and where we're
Yeah,
kind of at with it. Like, I'm sure Latinum still
it
exists.
does.
And did he buy it with Latinum? How did he acquire La Serena? Especially after being in Starfleet for so long as a commander, probably not like building up a whole. Maybe they paid them. I don't know. Like, how does it work? I have so many questions. Anyway, I'll
Uh,
get off my rant box.
yeah, I won't even pretend to be equipped to explain the post scarcity society. I've read lots of theories and talks on it, and it just I think that with the capitalism that we live in, it's just something that we can't wrap our heads around. I cannot wrap my head around a post scarcity society any more than I can the Zindi aquatics or like any aquatic species. How does anyone develop anything when they live in water? Because to me, getting something wet just ruins anything that we have here. However, you've got these advanced civilizations that are completely aquatic. I can't put my head around it. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And with Rios, what was I think a breath of fresh air here was that we're not on a Federation ship. We're not on a regular starship with a large crew. This is a kind of a covert thing, smaller crew, smaller ship, more of a Firefly vibe. You're right. We're on a smaller ship, and the guy's not an outlaw, but he kind of gives off that vibe a little bit.
Oh yeah, like you pay him to do
Yes,
stuff that you can't get done by regular channels.
exactly. Yes, this guy's getting paid, post scarcity society or not. He's getting paid. He's dealing in currency. Well, and that's because he operates out of the Federation. And now that's the thing that I think we need to remind ourselves is that the post scarcity thing is Earth. Yes, I don't believe that. I think we're assuming that was just magically adopted by the entire Federation, but it certainly does not extend outside of the Federation. I really don't think it's much past Earth. Unless someone can tell me that, yes, specifically the Vulcans and Andorians jumped on it and said, okay, yeah, we like post scarcities as well. But
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the whole thing about like, oh, you want to be a part of the Federation, huh? You want all these perks, huh? You want access to all our stuff, huh? Like, it's kind of like an enticing thing.
okay,
Scarcity causes conflict, causes crime, causes classism. All of those things are hard on a society, and not to get too into it, but like we deal with that now on Earth.
mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it
Right.
be nice if everyone had their basic needs met? So
And as society increases in its ability to provide for those basic needs, we elevate those basic needs.
Right. Right.
yeah, and that's part of growth as a civilization. And I would think that the core planets of the Federation, at the
Yes.
very least, have access to post scarcity technologies.
Right. Absolutely.
And processes. So it's great that we see him in his element doing his own thing. It does it is a little bit outside of what we typically see from Trek, although I think that it also plays into like the Federation not being perfect anymore, and it's kind of like melds in with everything kind of going on at the top levels. I'm sure they're focused on on any dissent that might happen within like political groups or regular citizens, people who aren't in Starfleet, but like people who have to live out in space deal with obviously a lot more hardships than if you're not in Starfleet, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's not Starfleet or bust. You can be a regular person with a ship in space, and you can read a book when you're traveling from point A to point B, because you're right, space has got to be just unfathomably boring. And I'm glad that he's reading a book. Seeing a book is great instead of having a pad for every chapter, all sitting on several pads everywhere, sitting on a table. And that was the interaction that Rios had with Droddy that I liked, because they're going wherever it was they were going at the time, and he's kicking back reading a book. Because here's the thing, just to get from Earth to, let's just say, the Klingon homeworld. Well, if you're to listen to Enterprise, you can be on a Warp 5 ship, and that's just 4 days. But if you're going, which is completely not correct, but yeah, I mean, you've got to take that. There's probably times where it would take weeks to get to wherever you're going at warp. I mean, that's very boring. So yeah, he reads, and he's got his holograms to keep him occupied. Which, Dag, tell us something about the holograms and just the sheer acting ability of, basically this guy played 6 characters, 5 holograms, 1 real.
I'm a big fan of Santiago Cabrera. Going back to his days on, even Heroes 2006. But what he does here is just beyond any expectation. We've had characters in Star Trek portray multiple roles even within an episode.
And he was like, I'm going to do it.
Brent Spiner,
all
noticeably.
in one season.
Yeah, Brent Spiner in Brothers, where he portrays Daddy Soong, Lore, and Data all in the same scene. He's done interviews about how much work went into each of those scenes, where he did 2 days as Soong in the makeup and 2 days as Lore, with somebody else standing opposite him in Data's likeness but facing away from the camera, acting with that person, and then another 2 days as Data with that person in the role of Lore, acting in the reaction shots, so that it all comes together in this really great composite. And if you're listening to us, we're showing some screen grabs of Rios's first conversation with the ENH, talking about, Picard, the great hero, and Rios is like, I already had 1 hero, Captain. I don't need another one.
But I want one.
Even that alone, it just portrays the two of them in very different lights. Rios is very unkempt. The ENH has combed hair and a button collar, and looks very well maintained in personal grooming. So just being able to present those aspects was great. And then, of course, he does 5 different. It's almost like 5 different accents with those.
The accents. One was just speaking a completely he's speaking Irish, like, right?
Yeah, what
am I wrong? Is Murph going to kill me? Who knows?
Yes, probably. Was it proper Gaelic?
Yeah, I forget exactly what he was speaking, but yeah, I was. Go ahead.
I would love to revisit this in the trivia section.
Oh, that's
not to put too fine a point on it.
Well, yeah, I won't hopefully touch on any trivia questions / answers you might have planned, but I would like to just kind of maybe talk about his purpose for these holograms and how he made them and what he left out. And so he creates a navigation hologram, an engineering hologram. There's an EMH, as we all know, is medical. And then he has a hospitality hologram. And what's the other one?
Tactical.
Tactical. Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Tactical. And when we meet these, it's kind of all in one episode, and it's when Rafi is like Rios is in his room after he sees Soji, and the past comes catching up, and Rafi starts to go to each of them for answers, and we find out that as soon as they kind of get they run up to the edge of where the knowledge is that she's looking for, and then they can't reason past it, they can't talk past it, they don't have access to that. And Rios created them and wiped the trauma out of himself that she's trying to get at, which will make sense of what she needs to learn about him.
But he did an ugly job.
He did a bad job, like, but she still has to go to the original to like get the answers that she's looking for. But she gets really close to discover, kind of like deducing the nature of it. Just nothing like outright. So a really cool way to kind of unravel a character and like how they see themselves in a way. I mean, the holograms were an absolute delight of this season, and I really, really hope we get to see more.
Oh, yes.
I loved them. They were great. And I like Rios.
That scene that you're talking about where Raffi is in the chateau, holodeck chateau, with the other Rioses, you're right. It's a great way to show, to unravel a mystery about the darkness of another character, but done with levity. That sequence was one of the funnest sequences of the entire series, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was like when we saw Zimmerman and the EMH from Voyager in the same room. It was like, wait, I'm like remembering that scene now. There was an iguana in that scene.
Well, wait a minute. If you have multiple Rios, is it Rios or Rioses? Because I mean, you wouldn't say Chinese's.
Riosi.
Riosi? Riosi?
Like octopi.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
I'm going to go with Rioses.
Rioses.
If you're listening or watching us and you think Rioses is incorrect, go ahead and leave a comment. Smash that subscribe button. Do the things that you're supposed to.
You could say Cinco de Rios.
Cinco de Rios. It's a new month for renaming May for Cristóbal Rios.
Yes,
Yeah.
Cinco de Rios. I like that.
Yeah.
Actually, that very good, Watney. We got to make that a thing.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Anyway, I really can't get over Rios. I feel like he was kind of the most solid, despite the fact that he kind of went to his dark place for a while. He was one of the most solid castmates. I wish we got to see more of him, but this is the first season. There is going to be things that are fucked up about it. And we are going to get a lot of exposition. We're going to get the crew together, and hopefully season 2, we get to see a lot more of him.
Well, that's because this first season was the, what was the phrase you used a few episodes back for our podcast? It was the, like the round 'em up quest or the go get 'em quest or
the side quest.
No, it was something about
fetch quest.
Yeah, the fetch quest. That's what it was. Yep.
Yeah.
This was the fetch quest. Now, Dag, I like what you did here. So with these screen grabs, you've got a story, like there's a little storyline here.
Yeah. This is that moment Watney mentioned earlier when Girardi's like, space is boring, and talks to Rios about his book. And I just thought that maybe having a sequence here would be a little bit more dynamic than just having a GIF out of context, as we have done previously. But yeah, he's talking to Girardi about the existential pain of living with the consciousness of death and how it defines us as human beings. And Girardi's like, well, that's not a conversation killer at all. I totally want to talk about the existential pain of living with the consciousness of death. But the point out that for this gift to me was just how much Cabrera says with his eyes and his responses. In that bottom GIF there, he just sort of pulls away, reacts. His eyes go from like the serious conversation stare to just that side grin where he's like, thought I was going to have a serious conversation with you, but you're kind of cool. And he just kind of he withdraws and he just sort of accepts that. But he does that a lot, and I've taken the liberty of salting some gifs in here where he just, with his eyes, conveys some cool stuff. So my angle is like Santiago Cabrera, thank you. Well, we can kind of talk about Rios. It's fine.
He did a great job. I think he was like, I think he was like half testing and half like pushing Girardi away with his like initial responses. And she comes back with a fucking joke. And he likes that, because I'm sure if he's reading these books in space by himself, he's on the verge of maybe going insane. Because think about being in the black, surrounded by an infinite void, and you're reading about existentialism and death. Like, for me, I already have intrusive thoughts about living with the consciousness of death, and it's quite a painful thing to have and to deal with. But I can only imagine not doing that, like, or having to do that not around anybody else.
Yeah,
and he seems like he spends a lot of his time alone. So in this instance, he was kind of pushing back against Girardi for being like, I know what you're trying to do here, but this is what's on my mind all the time. And she's like, oh, well, shit. That's funny. I don't want to talk about that, but I will if that's what you want to talk about, because I want to talk to you.
And plus, he's spending all of this alone time in this void with holograms being his companions, and not only holograms, but holograms of his likeness. I just think that's weird. I just think that's a little strange. I mean, if I'm going to be in space alone and I'm going to have these highly intelligent holograms interact with, okay, that's fine. That's great. Would I make 5 of them of my likeness just with different accents? It's a little cuckoo to me, I think.
Yeah, it's weird. He also doesn't like them. Which adds a whole adds a whole other layer to the fact that he probably experiences self-loathing for, and not to get too armchair psychiatrist, but I like to go into this kind of stuff when we talk about these characters so much in depth. But I definitely think he has like a healthy amount of like, okay, I respect myself, but I understand my flaws, and I created these guys and I know that they are me, and I'm tired of dealing with them. So I'm tired of dealing with myself. I think that's kind of his whole thing, the existentialism. It all plays in together in case, he gets injured and he doesn't care about it. He doesn't want it to be healed. He's just going through the motions. He's going through life. He accepts who he is, but he still gets annoyed at himself. It's a very interesting mirror.
You just threw a weird curveball at me, and now I've got goosebumps. Like, Rios, why does he treat those guys the way that he does, except for the fact that he had to go into their digital brains when he did that neural overlay to create them in the first place and eradicate the stuff that he didn't want to deal with, Jana and the Ibn Majid and what the things that happened there. And so every time he sees them, it's a reminder of what he did to them. He silenced them. He censored them the same way the Federation censored what happened on the Ibn Majid.
Yeah,
that's why I got the goosebumps.
It is a form of like narcissism, because I think he thinks a lot of himself, but narcissism is born out of self-loathing. If you're a narcissist, you hate yourself and you're projecting that onto other people. So I think like he kind of is doing that to these holograms, because they are a depiction of himself. I don't think he would ever do that to somebody else. He's very like kind towards Girardi. He's very kind towards Picard, kind of. He likes Rafi. Soji he warms up to. Eventually they all get along together, but he does to himself kind of have this self-loathing thing going on. What were you going to say, Big J?
I was going to say, if we're going to get to it soon, I don't want to jump the gun, but we were talking about Rios and his prior posting on the Starfleet ship. Is it too early to give the background, just so that our listeners and viewers who might not have seen every episode but listening about this maybe wondering, what are they talking about with his past? Is this a good point to jump on that, or is that coming later in your presentation, Dag?
I mean, there's gifs about it, but our conversation is going to jump all over the place because
Okay.
that's just how we roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we have talked up about the holograms. Unless
Yes.
anyone has further thoughts on those, I think it's a
Nope.
great time to kind of segue into why he did what he did with those holograms. Which
Okay.
we learn more about Rios when Soji beams aboard after Picard and her flee. Well, Nepenthe. They leave Nepenthe, and right, because there's a whole fucking Nepenthe episode.
Mhm.
They're on the cube, they go to Nepenthe, and then they get picked up there. Oh my god, look at the gift. Is that the tactical guy?
Yeah,
That's the tactical one.
The
He's so
Plus
funny
commercial.
with his hair. Yes. So yeah. Big J, do you want to talk about his past a little bit?
So basically what happened was he's serving on a Starfleet ship, and there were a couple envoys that they were sent to meet. This was a first contact type of scenario. And so they get these people. We learn it was a man and a woman. And when he first sees Soji, you just see this reaction out of him, just this like haunting kind of reaction. And what we come to find out after the fact was the reason that he recognized Soji before was due to the fact that at his prior posting that these two people end up being androids, were synthetics, and they did not know that right away. But there was this order that came from Starfleet that essentially said, kill these two people immediately. If you do not, we will self-destruct your ship. And it was a very, covert black ops kind of very hush-hush sort of thing. And Rios kept pushing his captain for the explanation as to why they did that. Why did they kill these two people? And it's just the order and the magnitude of it, the secret of it. His captain took his own life right in front of him, right in front of Rios. So
a father figure,
right,
no less.
right,
yeah.
Father figure gets some kind of mysterious order, kills these two people, and that really affected him. It really did. And so then when Soji comes on board, that just brings up all of these memories about that.
Right, because he doesn't know what the fuck's going on, and he doesn't realize there's doubles of them.
Mhm.
Right.
So like he sees her and he's like, it's a ghost. Beep, 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 beep.
Right.
Like he completely shuts down.
Yeah, no, that's the very first scene from that episode. They show up on the ship and Rios is just like ears ringing, laser-eyed on
I know, poor
Soji.
guy. I just think he's so sweet.
But
I think he's a good guy. I feel bad for him that he has all this shit that happened to him, and like he's handling it with grace, but also kind of not. Like he doesn't want to involve other people in the emotions of it. But we know Rafi; she'll break down any wall.
Yep. I don't understand something about the revelation of this whole thing. So as we find out later, once they get to the planet that is the synth hideout, they were and we knew that these synth were all created in pairs. That's how the whole fractal fractal neuronic cloning. I don't know why I keep that they're created in pairs. So, but then when we see the pair that was the envoy that was sent, what was the name of the synth that the prior model?
Beautiful flower.
There was Sutra, but her twin was the one that went on the ship and was
Comma. No, I'm kidding.
Sutra's twin Jana ended up on the Ibn Majid.
Right.
Jana. Right.
Beautiful flower who was an unseen male synth.
Okay. So Jana looks
Jana
like
got killed.
Right. So Jana got killed, and Jana is Sutra's twin. Sutra and Jana were previous model of Dodge and Soji, which meant that even though they have the same physical features, same face and look alike, Sutra and Jana had the goldish skin tone and yellow eyes like Data.
Right.
But so how is it that he sees Soji, who looks completely human, and that reminds him of this Jana that was, sure, they had the same, they look the same, but the skin color and eye color is completely different. Are we saying that was not enough to throw him off of the whole I'm seeing a ghost kind of
I think
thing?
we're gonna get to that in trivia.
Okay.
Dag, is that?
Okay.
That's not a trivia thing, but I have an answer for you, Dad.
Oh, okay. You were
okay.
making finger guns. Like, hey, we'll talk about that later.
Dad's brain.
I have info.
So
Yeah.
For those of you listening on the screen, we've got a picture of Rios with his captain, a picture of the drawing that was made of Rios and Jana, and then Raffi handing Rios a cup of tea. I think it's tea. It might be porter. I don't know.
Mhm.
But my answer to Jay is that, I think Rios did meet a golden-skinned Jana, and it was 9 years ago. And he's had this black and white paper locked up in his trunk in his room for 9 years. And it's a black and white paper. It's not golden toned Jana. So when he meets Soji, he is comparing her likeness to this image that he sometimes looks into when he's getting depressed. And it's a black and white image of her.
Okay.
There's
So
no tone in the image. And it's been 9 years.
okay.
Even though she might have been golden toned 9 years ago, he only saw her for a couple of hours. He's lived with this black and white image for 9 years.
Right.
Thank
And now
you.
he sees the spitting image of somebody who fits that likeness.
Okay.
Right.
And
They're
There
played
we
by
go.
the same actress. Like,
and he freezes.
Well, yes, I know
because-
that.
He freezes because this is an image that he has associated with all of this negative trauma for
Mhm.
9 years. And so that's why he's totally locked out.
Okay. I didn't think about
Soji beams aboard.
but wasn't that picture in a crate? Like, I don't think he gets that out very often to look at it. I mean, maybe like he's
Well-
got to be so fucking bored, like out there,
But-
like by himself. So I'm sure
Yeah.
every once in a while he goes, jogging into the past. But based on his reaction, I don't think he likes to see that face. I would understand after how much time has passed that he would still be like, holy shit, this is the same person, because
Mhm.
Sutra and Soji they're played by the same actress. The only difference is like Sutra's makeup is popping and she's looking like super tan and shiny, and her eyes are yellow. Like,
Yeah.
other than that, they're made from the same, like, there's the same version. So I totally get why. The only difference is like the hair. Sutra's hair was long, wasn't
Well,
it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hers. Sutra's
Sutra's hair was long. Yeah.
So they
Dodge's
definitely
was
like
here.
maybe he edited I don't know, like maybe Jana's hair. Clearly Jana was like the maybe
Jana
not
had shorter hair.
the
Yeah.
fucking crazy one
Well,
that Sutra became.
but
Well, maybe
Dag
Sutra became crazy.
makes a lot of sense that it's more of the likeness in the picture, because the picture is just in black and white. So the whole skin tone thing is not the consideration there. It's the connection with the picture. So that explains it. That's well done,
Who
Dag.
drew
I
the
also-
picture, by the way?
What's that?
Who drew that picture? Do we know?
I don't think
Was it
we-
Beautiful
Beautiful.
Flower?
Beautiful Flower drew that.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And I can imagine that even if he didn't look into this trunk when he was sad about this issue, in the days following his captain's suicide, he probably stared at that picture a lot. Like, what was it? Why did, I'd freak out too.
There's a lot of reasons why memories are encoded, but the primary one is emotion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Like he definitely remembers her. Whether or not as a shiny person or not, I don't really think that particularly like matters. It's a great question to ask. Don't get me wrong. It's a great question, and I love talking about it. But I think when it comes to how memory is logged, emotion is the primary thing. And he was like extremely shocked and traumatized from that. So
very good.
Yeah, love the slide. That guy looks like Pence. I'm so sorry. That just sticks out to me as he looks like he looks like our vice president.
So I just wanted to point out there's a
Thanks, I hate it.
He kind of looks like, oh my God, who is that actor from Airplane? Leslie something.
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen. He kind of looks like a mix of that too. Wow, we're flipping through stuff.
Yeah, I'm going back towards the beginning.
He fucking flicks the advertisement.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
I love the customs of. I just want to talk about that for 2 seconds. I love the fact that the ads were so focused that they go and they talk to the captain of the ship about getting mechanical work done for your ship. But if you look at the detail on the ratchet that the character is holding, that's LCARS on the display of the holographic little wrench there.
Mm-hmm. Oh. It's amazing. Yeah.
For those of you listening, we're just looking at a little repeated GIF of Rios flicking away the red Bolian hologram that appeared on his dash. And if you go and you check us out on the YouTube video, you'll see that this little wrench thing, spanner, whatever it's called, it has a rendered LCARS display, and that's just so cool there.
It's so funny that it's a red Bolian, because if you're talking about ads in the future, as someone who works in digital advertising for my career, they're going to be like extremely personalized, like dynamic to the point where like it'll be not just a mechanic, but it will be like other interests as well. So I'm curious as to why it's a red Bolian. Like, does Rios have a thing for Bolians? That's just where I'm taking that. Because why would they make it a red Bolian? I didn't even know that they were red. I thought they were all blue.
They are, and I think it's just a thing to stand out.
Well, we've only seen blue Bolians, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any other color Bolian.
Yeah.
Red Bolian, green Bolian.
Are there red Andorians?
This is your NC-17 little trivia tidbit, but in beta canon, it's established that Bolian fluids are corrosive to humans.
So a forbidden desire.
Ouch. Oh goodness. Why did you?
You're saying? Are you saying he walked away from that planet with blue balls?
Oh man, come on. This is supposed to be. I thought we were trying to make this a children's show. Is that just?
I'm sorry, that was a dag joke.
That ship has sailed, crashed, and sank to the bottom of the ocean.
That ship sailed with butt deodorant. And I'll never let you forget it. I'll never let you forget it.
If
ever.
We didn't use our chance before butt deodorant, that definitely sealed it.
Yeah, but I do love that you pointed that out, because as I was watching you like show that GIF, I was like, damn, that little thing is really detailed. Like, but I couldn't picture exactly what it was. But you're right, it's fucking LCARS on there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I want one of them. I want them to make an accessory so I can buy it.
Now anyway. Playmates.
Let's talk. Let's talk about fucking Free Cloud and his whole demeanor thing.
I went on a little bit of a spree on these slides because I got a lot of this, because this sequence is so pronounced to me. As soon as Raffi stands up to Rios and is like, "You can't do your broody existentialist spaceman routine. Your personality needs to match your clothes. You need to show a little panache." And I was just like, yes, tell him, stop brooding. Thank you.
Call his ass out.
This is like episode 4 or 5, maybe. I don't remember.
It's when 7 comes on.
Right. And at the end of Free Cloud is when they go to the Borg thing.
Think it's
so that's
4.
6. Nepenthe was 7. So that, this should be, something like that. But up to this point, all we ever got from Rios was I'm a broody captain and really cool holograms, and we needed him to show up.
I don't think
And
we
he
had the
does here.
holograms yet. Did we?
We had, by the time this episode airs, at
We
the
knew
end
about
of
the
Free
EMH.
Club, we knew about the EMH, Mr. Hospitality, Enoch, and the tactical guy. We knew about those guys because we had already met all of them in previous episodes. The slides are sort of in order of episode stuff, so you know. But yeah, so we knew about these guys, and yeah, it's great. It's hilarious what's happening here on Free Cloud. Just his whole get up.
It was like total. I don't know. I thought I have such mixed feelings about this episode because like Patrick Stewart's French accent is kind of cringe to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's very cringy and
it's over the top for sure.
It's over the top, and I know it's supposed to be over the top, but it's almost in like a corny like Looney Tunes way, and I don't necessarily love it. But Rios did a great job on the planet. He he faced off with a fucking snake dude. What was that guy? Who could smell lies?
Also,
Watney, what in the hell are you doing?
No more deodorant jokes.
You guys weren't saying anything, so I filled the air with my sniffs.
We need an adult. I wanted to ask.
I wanted to ask Jay what he thought about Rios's performance here.
Yeah, what do you think, Jay? What's your assessment?
Okay, so I think that he's one of those. I don't want to have fun. I refuse to have fun, but then I go and have fun. And his part in the, and you could tell the whole time he's fighting it. He doesn't want to do it, but you know, it's like, dude, this is probably the most excitement that you've had on your ship in forever. Just get with it. And I love Raffi's setup with that, trying to get him to loosen up a bit because he's very much like the Fonz. You know, he's too cool. He's too cool for this. This is ridiculous, and this is not going to work. But then once he starts playing the part against his own, I think, internal wishes, he gets into it. It's kind of like dads who don't want pets. You know, you bring home the kitten or the puppy, and they don't want pets, or you know.
That's
pissed.
like my favorite fucking meme. That's my favorite meme.
Yeah,
you're exactly right.
That's what it is. Like, I do not want this pet. And then you see the pictures of them and it's like they just fall in love with the pet. Well, he did not want this part. He didn't want to be involved in the caper, but then he ended up, you know, liking it. That was the first thing
being
I thought
the best friend.
Yeah. That's what I thought of is no, get that kitten out of my sight. And then, you know, yeah, that's it. It's dads who don't want pets.
Yeah. I think he's definitely escaping the normal day-to-day that he's gotten so used to, and
it was an escape from reality for him. It was
and it's kind of like, you know, you get really excited to make plans with someone, you make those plans, and then like it approaches and you don't want to go through with it because you're like being the introvert that you are, and it's like that's how my brain works. At least it's not that I don't want to see that person, it's that like the effort, you know, the expression of extroversion.
Watney. You will commit to something and then ghost on the day it happens, won't you? Like, yeah, I'll be at that.
No, I don't, because
turn your phone off.
No, I commit and I go because I am that type of person where when I commit to something, I am all in. However, that doesn't stop the introvert dread from happening. And he was definitely having a bit of that.
Introvert
for sure
dread.
I could tell. Okay. Yeah, he was like, I don't want to fucking do it, like, you know,
I'm a loner, you know. Yes, yeah, you're right. I did get that vibe from him of this is just not my scene, this is out of my wheelhouse. And but he went with it. He went with it, which was which was good. He became a team player, and he stepped up when he needed to and got it accomplished.
Yeah, he's definitely the guy that like has the record player in his room.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Yes.
like he has this side of him. He just needed a reason. So,
Was that metaphorical, or are you like pointing out that he had a record player in his room?
I literally am pointing that out.
Okay. Because I was like,
because I know he does.
Right.
So, what was the music that he listened to? I'm trying to remember what record that Rafi put on or something. It was like a modern day thing.
Beastie Boys,
Yeah.
Pearl Jam, Metallica.
Pearl Jam.
No,
He looks like the kind of guy
maybe.
that would listen to Pearl Jam. I just
I
get
think
that
a
vibe.
Google search might help with that a little bit. But
Or Nirvana.
for those of you watching on YouTube, I just wanted to point out a quick background coolness here. In the upper right corner there, where Rios beams down to Free Cloud, you can see on the left 2 cool little Easter eggs. 1, Quark's bar right there, spelled out. And 2, right behind Quark's bar is Mr. Mott's Hair Emporium. Mr. Mott, the barber on the Enterprise D, is making it in this world.
Nice.
Selling hair, apparently, or just cutting people's hair off. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad he survived the saucer section crash on Viridian 3 in the events of Star Trek Generations.
Can we talk about him and Jurati? I know it grosses you out, Big J, but can we do it, please?
Okay, maybe I'll just try to mentally tune out. But go ahead.
Oh, you even have gifts.
Oh, man.
Oh my god.
It's freaky.
have-
It just weirds me out. Come on, she kills a dude and then
I
don't think that they did it. I don't think that they slept
yes, they
together.
did.
Okay.
Yes, they
Okay.
did.
Point to me the detail that tells you that.
They're kissing
When
and there was alcohol.
So
involved.
that's not. That's not it, bro.
Jurati says, I've never slept with a starship captain before. Walking up to him topless, and then they kiss. That to me, that's just like that's afters.
No.
That's the afterglow.
Come on now.
Wait,
Wally.
hold on a second. Hold on.
Come on,
No.
Wadney.
I need
You're
to make
telling
sense
me.
of this. I need to make sense of this. So she comes in and he's playing soccer. Then they kiss. And then she's like, I have this superpower where I know I'm going to make a mistake before I do it. And to me, that was her shutting that down.
Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. This is my case now. Even though I hate the whole that she even walked in there with the intent after just murdering the man that she loved. So here's the thing: we're going back to the fact that we established that Rios has been out in the void of space. He's reading these existentialist books. He's lonely. He's got 5 holograms of him to look at all the time. He may be, when he's at port, might be throwing a little latinum at a girl for a lap dance or something. Who knows? But you've got this human female contact, which who knows when the last time was that he was in the presence of a woman and not paying for it. I don't know. But you're telling me that after what we just established with his being out there in space alone and all that this woman is not going to come up to him. They're going to kiss and he's just going to be like, oh, no, yeah, I'm good. Thanks for the kiss. I'm going to have to go back to the pilot seat. No.
That's not.
They did it.
No, she straight up shut it down with what she said.
I think that.
And
that
I
was
think
her
he's the
playing
kind of
coy.
guy
She was
that
playing coy. She was playing coy.
Okay,
I'm telling
that's no. No means no. Let's get that straight. Period.
I know that.
First of all,
right. I'm not saying that that's not. It's just.
I think he's a sweet enough guy to be like, yeah, sure. But I still think they have an emotional connection. I'm not saying they didn't eventually like hook up, but I think that in that moment she was like, she wanted that too. But she like realized that it was going to be starting their relationship under those kind of pretenses would have like cursed it from the start. I think is what she felt.
Right. I think that that she was saying a no yes, not a no no.
So 2 things.
Okay.
1, he's listening to Billie Holiday's Solitude
Oh my
on the
God.
record
Okay.
player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, me being the trivia master, I am forced to abide by canon.
Okay.
And the official canon says that he may have had a romantic relationship with Agnes Girardi.
So that it answered nothing. So we're at the same point where we started. Okay, so it's a possibility. So in canon, it was possible. I'm just saying that I think that they went all the way.
This is Schrodinger's boning.
Okay.
They did and
what's
they
that?
didn't.
Ah, okay.
Like
See, and
Schrodinger's.
my thing is if I'm going to get romance, it's also like, let me give you the pretense of where my head's at narratively.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to get romance in a show, I need it to be a long burn, a slow burn.
Ain't nobody got time
And
for
to
that.
have these characters, yeah, you do. You got a lot of fucking time for
I
it.
almost spit on my computer. Thank you.
For sure. If you don't have time for that, why even show it?
How many episodes do you think we have in this season? There's no time for all that.
Do you know how much time they spent on the ship together? She came up and talked to him because she was fucking bored out of her mind. There's plenty of time.
In Watney's
Not to
defense,
start yelling, but Jesus Christ. Like, there's
I've got-
plenty of time.
I've got 3 whole slides dedicated to Rios Girardi, so
Okay.
that's how much time they had.
That's a lot of time.
They did, and it became very sweet and like caring. It started out as like a physical attraction, but then it became very sweet and caring. And that's like my preference is like, she was like, I realize this is gonna be a bad idea, and then like pulls back, and then they like keep like touching base throughout the rest of the story. You know, who's to say what actually happened off screen? But in my opinion, I think she put a cold stop to that initially, and then, you know, they developed feelings along. Now, I gotta say though, I was cringing when it happened because it was so out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
They had that one conversation, but just a conversation isn't enough to like prelude to
Sure
that.
it
There was
is.
no hint like in the conversation about the book that he was reading that was like going to be a thing.
Why not?
You know?
I mean, people move pretty fast. I mean, yeah, you want your romance, but I mean, not everyone likes the slow burn. Who's to say that?
Well, I'm not saying that it's bad if people are okay with that happening, but I think that's where my head is at personally, is that narratively it's more entertaining to see like conflict happen and all that stuff when it comes to romance. Like, make it make sense to the story, not just because you can, I guess.
Right.
That's my whole thing.
Okay.
Ambiguous as it may be, I guess in retrospect, I'm better with it now. At the
Better
time,
with what?
with the romance. At the time, it was super out of the blue, and I was right there cringing with you.
Yeah,
But
same.
In retrospect, I'm just kind of like, it happened. Because if you've listened to the show long enough, you know where my real personal pain points with this is, and I can totally gloss over Girardi and Rios.
Well, like it's so different from the other like romances that we kind of see in like TNG, like Riker and Troy. Literally the entire show is them just being horny at each other. Like
Yeah,
and him and them like messing around with other people, but ultimately like they still love each other so much and they're gonna get married. It's like that kind of thing, but the opposite. This happens like so quickly that I got like whiplash a little bit. I was like, okay, give me some story justification. I'm used to being like held out on by the romance of the show.
You've been scarred.
Yeah.
If you're out there in Cyberland listening or watching this, I will donate $30 to a charity if you can link me a supercut of Riker and Troy's relationship from Encounter at Farpoint to Insurrection. Just saying. Just throwing that out there.
That's
I'll donate
nice.
money to
like a supercut.
Yeah, like
I just want a supercut because I imagine that a supercut of their relationship is basically going to look like, hey, I'm boning this person. Well, I'm going to bone this person. Well, I'm going to bone this person. Hey, let's get married. Okay.
Ew, you have a beard. I've never kissed you with a beard before.
Except she has, because Tom. But this isn't a TNG review.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Anyway, so yeah, I think our conclusion is that it happened.
I'm trying to figure out where I am here. So yeah, no, this the deck sort of skips. We go from right after they come back from Free Cloud. Maddox is dead, and they're talking about how this is all them. And then I skip straight to like Soji coming back and him ghosting and having that chat with Raffi. But one of the things that I thought was interesting here is that Raffi offers him a cup of tea. And a few episodes before, after Raffi had been shut down by her son,
yeah,
Rios offers Raffi. So I guess it's coffee. We've got it. We've got the thing. But I just thought that was a really cool, touching scene between them. And I was just talking to Lade last night. I was like, I think that like the Raffi Rios dynamic here is very Mal and Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt. I thought that their dynamic was we're two ex-soldiers both caught in the fray, and we're going to take care of each other.
Right. We left Starfleet because of trauma Starfleet gave us.
I like that.
Right. Right. And so they're just sort of caught up in the tempest.
They're caring for each other.
Yeah, and they take care of each other. And so I just thought it was a really cool callback. When she's going through her despair, he's there for her. He brings her coffee.
I just need a reason to come in and make sure you're okay. So I'm going to make some coffee.
Yeah. So 3 episodes later, 3 or 4 episodes later, Rios gets the favor returned. And he gets to tell Raffi what happened to him.
Yeah, it's so sweet. I like their friendship. It seems very like caring and like I'll hold your hair back if you're puking.
I'll lock you out of the replicator.
Right. That's closeness right there.
Like when they were fixing the ship on the synth world, like they were fixing Lacerda, like that banter was so cute to me.
Yeah.
Like I just think they have like such a great friendship. It's one of the highlights. And what's better is that it's like a guy and a girl. It's not like it because I think it's so important to see friendships like that on screen.
Yes.
That are healthy, that aren't like there's not sexual tension because lots of people are of the opinion that guys and girls cannot be friends without that existing. And you do you, but I love that in the show. They're so close and they just care for each other and make sure that each other are okay. Try and figure each other out. They know
it is not impossible.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. That's so great. What a great insight.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to take us back to the Rioses.
Please.
Because these guys are freaking hilarious.
Cinco de Rios.
You even have the engineer with an accent. He is hilarious. And I loved it. I love the navigation guy. I love that his reaction here. He's so touched. He's just like, oh, she touched my face and she loves me. And in the sequence where they're all together, Santiago Cabrera is faced with the challenge of being 5 exceptionally distinct personalities interacting with basically himself, through the magic of green screening and CG and composite editing and all that fun stuff. This magic happens in the editing room, but on screen, Cabrera just pulls it off. And Raffi, we open to this scene here where Raffi is talking to them and they're all 5 there, and you can see the engineering one is like, I'm just going to sit in this chair and I'm sort of stomping around and I wear boots and I'm very functional. And then you've got the navigation guy who's sitting there very, very just poised, and he's like, oh, I'm very happy to be here. This is great. What's going on? I could host my own Mr. Rogers TV show if I wanted. The tactical guy, he's there like, I'm nursing a holographic hangover. Just leave me alone.
Call this fucking meeting.
Yeah.
A holographic hangover. That's the name of a biography, if I ever.
Mr. Hospitality is over there like, I'm late for an appointment. Why am I here? And then in the back corner there, you've got the EMH who's just done with the world. He's just done. He's done with being deactivated all the time without his consent. That's what he's done with. And I love that so much. And yeah, he knocks it out of the park. This scene, it is the highlight of the series for me.
It's nice because it's like the fucking Brady Bunch. It's like they're all
a dysfunctional
I don't know.
Brady Bunch.
It is. It's dysfunctional, but it's so good. It's just like a break from the norm. It's like a more holographic kind of like a holodeck adventure type stuff. Like
Married with Hologram.
Yeah.
I need to look this up. Before Picard came out, our favorite Andorian, Jeffrey Combs, had the record for the most different characters played. And I think in one series, Santiago Cabrera is like number 2 now. He's playing 6 characters.
Well, okay, so wait a minute. So Jeffrey Combs was Wayun, of course, Shran, Brunt, FCA, and he was a character on DS9 before he was ever Wayun. There was that. And then on the Voyager episode Sinkatsi, he was the like the guy running the whole what do you want to call it? The arena, the fighting thing.
Yeah.
He was that. And I think so that's 5. And Santiago Cabrera is at 6. Do I have that right for Jeffrey Combs? 5 different characters throughout Trek. Didn't he? Yeah, I think that's it. I can't think of any others. I believe you're right.
Jeffrey Combs is at 7.
He's at 7? Who am I missing then?
Actually, he's at 8. He portrayed Tyron in Meridian. He was Brunt. Well, I don't know if this counts, but he was all of the Wayuns that we ever saw.
No, you only get one Wayun.
He could have been all the brain too. You never know.
He was Pank and Sunkotsky. He was Shran, and he was Krem, another Ferengi in Enterprise.
I knew it. I wanted to say Enterprise. He was one of the Ferengi. Yep.
3, 4, 5, 6, sort of 7. Yeah, I can see how they do it because they don't really count all of the Wayuns either, and they don't count any holographic characters as a portrayal. He's an Andorian, Pank, 2 Ferengi, a couple of guest stars, Wayun. There's also his character in Far Beyond the Stars as the police officer.
Yeah.
But Santiago is now at 6, so he's only 2 away. Need 2 more holograms in the tide.
I think if we're going to count all the holograms, then I don't think we can not count Jeffrey Combs playing the detective dude in Far Beyond the Stars. I don't know. That one's tricky. So basically, to circle back around to it, they're
there ain't no circle back, boy.
It sounds like they're tied ish. It's close.
Well,
I think
this
Combs
sounds
has one more.
This sounds like a good prelude into trivia.
Trivia alert! Trivia, sound the alert.
I thought this was a perfect. These are the perfect gifts to use for that. If you're listening to us, it is all 5 of the Rios holograms caught in their thinking glitch, where they're trying to remember something, and all of their eyes light up and shimmer, and they're all like, "Wait, what's going on here? Why is this happening this way?" But trivia, we've been touching on it the whole episode so far, is matching each one with what they did. And I feel like we primed ourselves really well for this to be an easy trivia round.
Okay.
So starting in the upper right, I mean, there's no time or anything like that. Do both of you know what Emmett did on
the medical?
Well, he's going to be upper left.
I meant upper left. My bad.
Upper left.
Okay.
Emmett, he was the
Tactical.
T is the ETH.
With the T.
Yeah. And now we go to the upper right.
Medical.
Do you concur, Jay?
Emil? No.
No?
No,
Emil?
He was not Emil. He was not the
Emergency medical.
He was the no, I
would agree with Wani if I were you.
Okay, I agree with Wani.
Yes, Emil was the EMH.
I thought Enoch was the okay. So
he was the navigator.
Okay, yeah. Dang it.
And we'll get to him last, but right now we're talking about Ian in the lower right corner. What did he do?
He was the engineer.
And Mr. Hospitality kind of speaks for himself.
Right. Right. Emergency hospitality hologram.
I don't know why he needed to be an emergency hospitality hologram. That's like me going to the front desk at a hotel and be like, I have a hotel emergency. Where do I get the food?
I need to relax. Stat.
Well, yeah, if you're adding stat.
Where are the amenities?
I must find the concierge.
You get your own Shawshank Redemption shot in the lobby. Where are the amenities? That's a great line.
He shows up. He's like, yeah, I'm here. Here to help you.
What is the nature of your hunger emergency? Here, have a Snicker bar. You're not the same.
I do not have clean towels.
You might as well just call him the emergency mental health hologram.
Right. Yeah.
And then, of course, Enoch at the end. What did he do?
He was emergency navigation hologram.
He is the emergency navigation hologram. See, great job. Great job, everybody. I love these 5 guys. And my favorite sequence with them is right after this, when all of their glitching is going on, they all in sync whack their heads.
Yep.
That's the amazing shot.
I laughed out loud. I laughed out loud. It was so good. All right. That was the highlight of Rios for me. So all of the rest of this stuff is just downhill from here. So let's just get
okay.
Well, let's power through it. And please don't give me another 2-hour podcast to have to edit.
What are we at now?
We're at an hour and 20, so our audience hasn't left yet.
Oh, okay. Good.
Only if they're still hearing that. This is after. No, this is just before she doses herself.
Jurati, yep. Mm-hmm.
And he thinks that that Rafi is the mole or whatever the fuck ever.
Well, and I still think he's like trying to play. I still thought at the time that he's trying to play Jurati to be like, no, it's Rafi. You're totally in the clear, just to get her to be comfortable.
The guilty conscious.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just don't think it played out that well in the show if that was the intention.
No, I don't think that the writers intended that. I mean, it would be cool if that's what he was doing because him and Rafi are so close, but I don't,
I think he played her. I have a hard time believing that that Rios would suspect Rafi, longtime friend, and not some lunatic that just out of nowhere is on the ship and is acting weird, at different points, and especially because if you notice Jurati's attitude and demeanor, from the view of the crew, once they were getting close to figuring out the whole thing, after the Free Cloud mission, if you're an outside observer, if you're Raffi or Picard or anyone on the ship, you see Jurati just she can't hide her feelings or her emotions. Suddenly her personality just goes this way, and she's just acting really strange all of a sudden. And that was because she had just she had learned about the whole thing with she didn't just learn about the admonition, but she had just killed
Maddox.
Maddox. Yeah, my brain locked up. Maddox. So you see her just really kind of shift her attitude. And if I'm Rios, I'm certainly going to suspect Jurati a lot sooner than I am Raffi. And if I'm Rios, I'm going to go to this person I suspect, who, if I'm a person who's good at reading someone, then I'm going to do exactly what he did and bank on the fact or the strong possibility that this person is going to be the one to crack, because she is not going to let someone else take the fall. She's not so insidious that she's going to let someone else take the blame for what she did. And that's why I think he played her. Now, whether the writers knew they were doing that or did it accidentally and they're taking credit for that, I really think either way that this is she got played.
That's an interesting take. Watney?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if the writers intended for that. Otherwise, we would have seen more of Rios and Raffi being like, okay, I got her down there.
Well, but they're not going to.
Did they do that?
No, and they're not going to give that up. Even if they meant to write it like that, that doesn't mean that they're going to put in a scene of Raffi and Rios talking about it and plotting it out.
Well, I would require that if I'm going to assume that the writers intended for Rios to play her. There was nothing like them saying, I'm going to go get... I think that there was a moment, in fact, where Rios and Raffi were like, what's going on with Jurati? And he's like, I'm going to take her down to medbay or something. Like,
right after this scene, he goes up to the cockpit and he sits in his chair, and Raffi is at the navigation thing doing something on the computer. Mm-hmm. And he bores into the back of her head, and he accuses her subtly, which is why I don't think the writers really intended for Jurati to be played here. And if they had, that scene would have been a little bit different. But it was just enough time for Jurati to replicate that thing and dose herself, because right after Raffi and Chris have their little conversation, their little spat, the EMH is like, hey, I've got a thing with Jurati. And he's like, oh, is she doing something? And he's like, well, she's dying. And that's where that episode ends. So I wish it had been Raffi and Rios suspecting Jurati, at least at this point. But
that's because it was out of the blue.
Right. The way
for
it plays
me
out does not support my wish.
Yeah, I think that the way we see Rios interact there, it's like he actually thinks it's Raffi. And like it's out of the blue for me. And I think it was out of the blue for everyone, no matter if you fall into the camp that like he's playing Raffi, or if like he's really believes, or he's playing Jurati, or he believes Raffi, like, or whatever. Like the whole thing was kind of like weird, and like, okay, it's like on a whim. It felt like all of it was just on a whim. In fact, he thinks that Raffi is conspiring against the ship, and then he goes up and directly confronts her while she has control of the consoles. Like, it's like it was all so nonchalant. Like there's a sense of conspiracy, but it wasn't really like there wasn't a serious gravity to it.
Well, Watney, you know why Rios is suddenly very trusting of Jurati? Because they hooked up earlier.
Says you. Says you.
I know. I know.
What was that? Was it Nepenthe where she tried to off herself?
Yeah, because they were on their way to meet them, and they were
Yes,
running
they were
away
being tracked.
from Justin Bieber Romulan.
Narek, yeah.
That was actually like one of my favorite Narek moments because he shut the fuck up.
Just then, Musiker calls Rios back to the bridge. The shadow is back. After Rios leaves, Girardi replicates a dose of neuranium hydride, which the computer warns could have neurotoxic effects. She hesitates for a moment before she puts the hypospray to her neck and collapses on the deck. Emil activates to find her on the floor, foaming at the mouth, tailing La Serena aboard his scout ship. Narek curses as he suddenly loses the signal. The neuranium hydride has canceled out Girardi's tracker. Emil calls Rios to sickbay as Girardi is now in a coma. But it doesn't detail the dialogue that happens between Rios and Raffi in that sequence. So we'll leave it to a rewatch.
Yep.
Yeah.
As we near the end of Rios's arc in Picard, he has to confront this ghost of Jana Soji and learn how to trust her in a pinch. I found his behavior towards her confrontational at first, which I really appreciated because this is somebody who's like, you are the visage of my trauma. I don't like you at all. And you know, at the same time, Jana's like, hey, I found a transwarp conduit, and he's immediately like, give me my structural integrity field, give me my chronoton field, we are not going to be torn apart. and he says, you know, Serena is my goddamn ship, hija. And I'm just like, that is,
which means daughter.
Foot down right there.
He's calling her his daughter.
Why would you call her that?
Well, in California, that's more of like a diminutive. It's like saying, this is my ship, little girl.
Oh.
Don't do it. It's like a colloquial thing. Hija literally is daughter.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
it's less endearing than Mia, which is my daughter. It's like a combination.
Okay.
So it's literal, but it's of our time period colloquially. Yes, it's not exactly a great thing. Okay. And I think honestly, like, it kind of like puts Soji in her place a bit. Like, sure, she's super fucking OP, but like he's setting boundaries for sure. Like, this is my livelihood. You don't get to toy with this because you have your own mission. We're all in this together. We're going to do this together. Like, sit the fuck down.
Yeah. Right. That's a man that has decided, I don't care if you could snap me in two before I blink. This is my ship.
Yeah, and I'm gonna turn this goddamn ship around.
Right. I will
if
turn
you
this
don't
ship
shut the fuck up.
Take your synth ass over there.
Yeah.
Put that synth back where it came from, or so help me.
Put that synth back where it came from, or so help me. So help me. So help me.
Oh man. See, this is the benefit of listening all the way through the show. You get all the cool comedy bits.
Yeah. The trivia section is the Wild West.
Yep. And we come out of that transwarp conduit. We get to Coppelia Station and Julian 4, and they're immediately taken down by giant flying ship Vorus orchids, and it's dark on board, and Picard's like, okay, well, the power's out. What do we do? And he's just simply like, we do nothing. We have no power. This isn't the Enterprise. You don't have a crew of engineers trying to figure out how to use all kinds of techno-babbly cool beams to jumpstart the ship.
Right.
No, we're here until something changes, which it shortly does when they crash.
Do I look like LaForge to you? We're not doing jack shit about it. That's what we're doing.
You don't look like LaForge because LaForge doesn't look at all. He's blind.
Not one bit.
Another sequence with Rios and Girardi, and in this GIF, we're also featuring Spot 2, the second spot for Data, who's not here except in a box somewhere, stowed away. I just imagine that, like, I've got a box in my closet that's running a simulation of your best friend, and I'm just not going to tell you about it. It's cool.
So who gets the cat? Rios. Basically, he gets the android kitty.
Oh, it could be like dad pets. The next sequence will start with Rios in bed with Spot. Spot just curled up on his chest.
You succumbing to the cuddles.
I do not want this pet.
So that is an android Spot, isn't it?
It's a synth Spot, yeah.
A synth Spot.
Yep, synth cat.
And we get the synth cat on the ship, don't we? Are we taking the kitty?
I don't. We
fucking better.
I don't recall that. I hope they took the cat, but I don't.
I don't think we saw the cat after this. My headcanon is that cat saw the tentacles coming out of the tunnel and went, "Beam me up,"
and just yeeted right out of there.
Yeah. It yeeted itself to Synthulu. Now we're going to get the adventures of Synthulu and Spot.
Oh, I like it. I would subscribe to that.
Yeah, Synthulu and Spot. That'd be a great show. Comic.
Or it's like in Marvel where the cat, Captain Marvel, where the cat is the Cthulhu.
Yes. Yeah. I think that they would be they'd be missing an opportunity to not have Spot 2 on the La Sirena for season 2 of Picard. I think that would be
give me Space Kibby. We know we all know
we
how
want Space Kitty.
Make it so. I mean, you guys threw us for a loop when we didn't get number 1 in more than 2 episodes. I demand a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
With top billing.
You emotionally manipulated me into watching this show. Now give me what I want.
Picard season 2, starring Spot 2 and guest starring Patrick Stewart. Done. There wasn't a lot of gifts for what happens after this, but Rios and crew, they break into the synth station, and I guess they make a big distraction trying to stop Soji from activating the beacon. But right before that, we get war buddies Rios and Raffi in the Borg cube using the Borg sensors to identify the 218 incoming Romulan warbirds, which was a daunting moment. Like, that's a lot of ships.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Raffi's, I think it was Raffi who said it. It's just like, well, there's 218, but you only really have to worry about the first 18 because after that you're dead.
There's also
there's
like a fucking Borg cube that wasn't used at all.
Yeah.
Well, it was too damaged. It was.
You're touching on the things that I didn't like. The Borg were
too damaged, but just not damaged enough to be okay and make it to the ground. The plot armor is too strong.
Well, once it hit the ground, that was probably all she wrote. It
wasn't all she wrote enough because the thing was still in one piece.
Well, yeah, it had air brakes. It had the flowers helping.
The systems are clearly working inside the ship.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird here.
Well, but even if so I think it's safe to assume that Borg cube was not going to be space worthy again. I don't see how it could have taken itself up off the planet into space.
That's not what I mean. It still had the ability to lock on to ships and fire because that's range? What Narissa was doing when Seven fucking squared up. When Seven squared up on her, she was at a console getting ready to fire on Picard.
Right.
So I know that it had the ability to do that.
I don't know. I'm not. The range of weapons is kind of written to what the plot needs. I didn't think that the cube would be close enough to be able to do anything.
If you could target La Sirena, you could target Romulans.
You're right.
That what you said, the plot is written to where the story needs to be, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That is my problem.
Yep.
That is the problem that I have with the series.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. Like, okay, sure, they did it that way, but that doesn't mean it makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
I know.
You have these incredibly resourceful characters who would use anything that they could to get an advantage in this situation. And the Borg fucking sits there like a paperweight. So the cube just hangs out.
Yeah.
The only one who's going to actually utilize it properly was the best character of the whole thing. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
7 of 9.
I'm done.
Of course.
Move on. Let's go. What else we got? Is that it?
So, I mean, I don't have anything. I mean, I've got a couple slides following, but I don't have anything about the break-in where Rios, brings his soccer ball of doom into the synthetic compound, and then
Oh, I thought we were talking about
chucks
trivia.
chucks a bomb at Soji. No, the only trivia was the EMH stuff.
Oh,
was
okay.
it?
That they
Okay.
published.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
I
That's
love
fine.
Dag's Trek trivia.
I have finally made it because I've disappointed somebody with trivia. That's great. So powerful.
So
No, that's okay.
disappointed.
Dagger trivia is always good. It's always appreciated.
Mhm.
After That's All She Wrote, we get this scene, and if you listen to our previous episodes, while we have felt that different pairings here would be okay, I still think that Seven and Rios kind of go together here as well, as two people have kind of just lost everything. Yes, Raffi has too, and that's why the pairings could really have gone in our discussions with the two of you. The pairings really could have gone anywhere. You could have had Raffi and Rios and Seven and Elnor, because Elnor and Seven shared that hug so many episodes ago, and you could have had Elnor and Rios, and we got Elnor and Raffi, and so there are so many elements that go together to make these pairings work.
It does. Now, do you remember when we were talking about the characters in Picard on the Lost Arena, and how we thought that they matched up with the characters on Firefly? And you guys were saying that, well, who would Picard be? And I think Watney said Mal Reynolds, and saw Rios as kind of, and I said no.
No, I said Shepard.
Right, Shepard.
Shepard book.
Right, and I said yes, Picard could be the leader, could be like the Mal Reynolds, the leader type character. However, Rios could only be seen as that Mal Reynolds type, whereas Picard could do either Mal or Shepard book. So I think that this pairing is kind of the same, even though you could have maybe one person paired off with someone else. That doesn't mean that then the other pair would be as strong. For example, yes, Raffi and Rios could. Seven and Elnor could certainly have been another pairing, another very viable pairing. But does that mean that Raffi with Rios would have been as strong? It doesn't mean that. It's the same thing with trying to compare who's Picard on Firefly. Could he be Mal Reynolds? Sure. Could he be Shepard book? Sure. Then you get to Rios, and you say Rios on Firefly. Could he be Mal Reynolds? Absolutely. Could he be Shepard book? Not in a lifetime. So you'd have that kind of.
That's okay, because Seven is Jane, and that's all I care about.
Right. Yeah, Seven's Jane.
When she pulled that dual wielding blaster rifles, I was bought in. Seven's Jane. Those rifles are named Vera.
Yeah, we were trying to decide who Jane was. I think the last time we talked about this.
I mean, am I way off? Am I way off base on that? Like, you might have someone that could play two, but you only have one person that could.
Yeah,
really
that's
do one,
fine. That
so.
just means you're not falling into tropes too much. But
Right.
like Girardi is not a trope to me. Like there are definitely characters that fall outside that. Elnor is a trope for sure. But
I meant in regard to the pairing at the end, just the whole debate. On,
yeah, I mean it is what it is, and I think they made their decisions because of certain reasons. Like one is more like Rafi's mom, Elnor's child, like comfort in that way. And then, yeah, I mean, I think I've probably said all I need to on those decisions. It is what it is. So,
Yep.
I mean, making comparisons to Firefly I've done a lot of that. So,
and it's hard because Firefly really is its own thing, and we can sit here and say, well, maybe these characters are elements of those people, but they're not. It's not a ripoff.
No, it's not.
There are no direct translations.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. All right.
Look at that smile.
So
Look at that smile. He's so cute.
That's
He's so cute.
the smile of a smuggler.
Yeah, he's so cute. And then, of course, one more. So now I got 4 dedicated slides to Girardi and Rios in this sequence. Girardi just leans over and kisses him. And then, as I am wont to do, the whole cast in the last sequence, right when Picard's like about to say engage. And you've got 7
and
attack.
what are they going off to do now?
Season 2, whatever that is. Just set course, season 2, engage. Whatever speed you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, they're going off to do whatever, do the next thing. They can do
They're
some
going off to do episodic content.
do some
hopefully.
smuggling. Do some smuggling. Make some money or
Are
something.
they? It would be interesting if the next season focused a lot more on the Fenris Rangers, but that's a discussion for a non-character assassination.
Yeah, I think that would be the way to keep 7 on the show.
Here's some questions.
Okay.
Overall, why? I'll ask you first. Same question to Jay, but I'm going to ask Wadney first.
Okay, what time are we at, first of all?
We are at an hour and 40 minutes.
Okay.
Got 2 minutes. Wadney, Chris Rios. Last thoughts. Cool character. Could use more. Where is he weak? What are his strengths?
He's one of the better characters, and I want to see more of him.
Jay?
I really appreciated that he had some depth to his character. He had some past trauma, some past history, some issues that he had to get through. It felt like his character had more substance and not just a glossed over on the surface a brigand or malcontent type of person. He actually had some depth in his character. I hope that in season 2 that we see some more of his past relationship with Raffi. I feel like the little bit of backstory that they did give Rios, they already wrapped up. So it's like, okay, well, what else could he possibly get? And that's my take on Rios. And for the actor, excellent job playing 6 distinct parts.
Yeah, I think I most look forward to seeing Emmett and Ian just get into it. One of them yells in Spanish and the other one yells in Gaelic.
Mm-hmm. That would be a nice argument to listen to.
Well, I think we've come to the conclusion of our character assessment of Cristóbal Rios. I love him to death. Santiago Cabrera can smile at me in my dreams. Wadney, where can you find us?
You can find us on Patreon. Patreon.com/BeyondTrek. And then we're mostly active on Twitter. Twitter at Beyond Trek Pod. Dag mostly runs that one, but we all like to stop in from time to time. And then our Facebook is Beyond Trek Productions. You can find us there. Come say hi.
Yep. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us. We're on every major podcast platform. If you like audio only, if you like to see our smiling faces and especially the gifts that we do during this presentation, that's where you'll find us on YouTube. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And have we decided who we're going to do for our next character assassination for our next episode?
It's either Seven or the Romulan duo.
Okay, so we can't give our
I
audience a
think
cliffhanger right now because that's
I
tough.
think we should do Narissa.
Yeah, Nerissa and Narek.
You want to do the twins?
Yeah.
Let's do the
Seven has all of Voyager.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone knows and loves Seven. Let's go. Let's do something else.
All right. So
Okay.
on our next episode of Beyond Trek Podcast, we're going to do the character assassination of the Lannisters, Jamie and Cersei, and hope you'll be there for the salacious Romulan twins.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And live long and
love
prosper.
All of you.
Live long and prosper.
Hi, I'm Nacho with Beyond Trek Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Captain Rios. I kind of see a little bit of Captain Kirk in him and Riker. I don't know. He seems like a bind of those two. Now, what's the thing with him and Dr. Adnistrati? Honestly, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Captain Rios is he seems lonely, and honestly, I don't know if he's looking for, or he's avoiding the part that she killed for love, or if he's just okay with it. But honestly, I don't see that working out. I don't at all. But, all over, I think I'm okay with it, kind of. Not really. He's trying to maybe find redemption with Captain Picard for what happened with his old captain, maybe. And for what he did with those old synth when he was aboard that old ship of his back when he was in Starfleet still. And honestly, I think he's a good captain, but I think he has issues with being with Picard because I feel like he's traumatized from what happened to his old captain. What's the future of his character? Honestly, I think he's gonna stay until the show ends, for however long that would be. I can see him rebelling against Picard someday. Like maybe next season, he would be a very important character. He seems like, again, he won't leave until the show's over. I think he'll last a very long time. And next season, I think we'll look more into his story rather than just Picard's. Just honestly, from every show I've watched, season 1's about the main guy, then after season 2 or 3, and that's when you start looking at everyone's story.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your ears. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.